And I'd like to call this Selectmen's meeting to order. Could we please start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Tejasena Shivalingam.
Present.
Lee Sharps.
Here.
Casey Barney.
Here.
Harold Lamos.
Here.
Fran Newton here. I'd like to start this meeting with some reflections. We've all been sitting around here talking about the horrific events of this morning, the mass shooting. It seems like for at least 2 weeks, if not longer, we have been going through surreal tragedies in the world. 3 major devastating hurricanes, fires up in the Northwest, and today's mass shooting. And like you, I'm sure, I'm numb by all of this. But I also want to say how grateful I am to live in this community where we're relatively safe, and how grateful I am for our police department, our fire department, and all of our first responders who are heroes today. I think this town is relatively kind, and I think that we ought to think more about being kind to one another, because life can change on a dime. So on that note, if we could just take a moment of silent reflection and think about these things, I would be grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment before we get started? Okay, we have some minutes to approve, the first one being those of September 18th. Are there any comments, corrections, additions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 18th as written.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now the minutes of September 25th. Any comments or corrections?
I was informed that ZBA Chairman Eli Badger was there too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, he was there. I wasn't informed.
Yes, yes, thank you. Anything else?
The 918 ones, he gave me a couple corrections too.
Oh,
do I
do you
need
want to
to-
let us know what they
Oh,
are?
okay, I thought she gave that to you. and-
No.
Okay, page 2, line 7, change extend to expend.
Ah, yes, thank you.
And the other is on page 4, there's 2 spellings of last names. Line 1, Jack Dugan, I now have the correct spelling.
Okay.
And line 8, Ann Letourneau, I have that correct spelling.
Okay.
So-
While I have that
As
page
amended.
open, I'd also like to say, it said, committee, the 4th of July committee will be staying with the Heritage Commission temporarily. That has not been finalized yet, so I just say for the time being.
For the time being, okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
can we go back and revisit the 18th?
As amended.
A motion to make them, to approve them as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we have one correction for the September 25th. Is there anything else?
What was the correction? Oh, just the name.
That, yes. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes of September 25th as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay.
Who made the motion to?
Tasia Sinha made the motion.
And Lee?
Yeah. And Casey abstained.
I wasn't there.
He wasn't there. Okay.
Oh, I made the motion for the 18th.
Right,
Okay.
who did the 25th?
Good point. I don't know. I'll make the motion. I'll move that we accept the minutes of September 25th, 2017 as amended.
And I'll second it again.
Okay, and all still in favor, yes?
Yes.
Sorry, like I said, I'm kind of rattled at the events of today, and I apologize. Consent agenda, we have the general manifest in the amount of $50,589, and the payroll manifest at $12,003, and those are going around for signature. We also have the MS 535 and MS 1. Charlie, could you just give us a little background on that?
The MS1, Patsy, as she mentioned in our last meeting, needed to be reprinted.
Yep.
The 535, the auditor, or DRA requested that the purchase or the expenditure of the police department cruiser be under capital overlay.
Okay.
So it needed to be updated.
Okay. Thank you. Don't see any department heads here unless you want to say something, Craig. I assume you did get the message about the flag to lower it at half-staff. Charlie sent you an email. The flags have to go to half-staff until sunset on Friday.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Yes, Tony?
A couple of things.
Okay.
I have. Lee asked about the stuff for when we go to these overdose calls.
Yes, yes.
I haven't been able to lock Sergeant Hamilton down exactly about what we need, but I'm still working on that.
Okay.
For an update.
Okay,
The second thing is trick or treating
yeah,
is going to be on the 31st from 5 to 7 o'clock.
okay,
And that's what we've traditionally done every year since I've been here.
okay,
So we plan on continuing on that tradition.
okay,
I'll let the selectmen know before I say anything to anybody else about it.
Yeah.
So that you guys feel that you're not being blindsided by the trick or treat.
okay.
There was one other thing, but for some reason it skipped out of my head.
Well, if it comes back, just come back in and let us know.
Skipped out.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, old business. The NHDOT TAP grant, the RFQ interviews. As was pointed out at our last meeting, we had not exactly followed the process that was required of us. So the selectmen have taken all 7 of the proposals and rated them on a scale of 1 to 5 in 8 different categories. And at this point, Charlie will sum them up and average them out, and we will come up with our top choices.
Top 3, right?
Top 3.
Yes.
Top 3.
I assume you've gotten them from everybody at this point?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you.
I still needed one from you for Du Bois and King.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Some put in the reference checks, some didn't. Did you want to include those or not?
Well, they should be, and I know you've made several phone calls, and I made some phone calls today, and I'm waiting to hear back. I'll be happy to share my, the feedback that I'm
Right.
getting, but short of getting that, I mean, you're the one with the contacts in the various
Yeah.
towns. I
Yeah.
would recommend that, your
Yeah.
shot at the references be graded.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
So I didn't call the references because my understanding from the last meeting was that the town administrator would check the references.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that's perfect.
is that-
Like I said, I just made some
Yeah.
phone calls on my
Yeah.
own to some people I know, and, I still defer to what you find out,
So,
Charlie.
did you want to take the references, those that scored the references out?
Yeah, I would.
Because it's not
Unless they-
balanced.
Yeah,
Yes,
I would.
Yeah.
that's the best
Yeah,
thing to
definitely
do.
base it
I
on the
don't know what
first
I did. I
7.
don't know what I did to that
Yeah.
other one. I know I did it.
Anything else that you want to talk about, Charlie? You mentioned we have a bit of a timeline that we have to get on this with, to start doing these interviews?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 'Cause someone mentioned to me that the survey that needs to be done for the project would have to be done before winter.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
When's good for the board to meet to start interviewing?
You know my schedule usually.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Okay.
and occasionally on a Thursday morning, but, just tell us what you need. Okay?
Anyone? You want a board meeting? I don't know.
How are we gonna do this? We're
That's
gonna-
what I mean.
Well, are they gonna come in and do a
Oh,
presentation?
yes,
Okay.
yes, they will
Yeah.
do a
So we
presentation.
probably.
You might need, it'll probably take about an hour.
Yeah, we probably
each
need
one.
3 different times. I don't think
Yes. Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do more than one in a day. So, I can be available anytime on those days and often on a Thursday morning too, depending upon what you find out.
Did Wednesday at 9 work for anybody when we did our last set of interviews? Was that a good time?
It is for
Yeah,
me.
That's good.
That
That's
worked for
good.
me.
And Casey, is there any opportunity for you to be there?
If I know about it, like,
being the
yes.
engineer, we'd
Yeah.
really like you in.
Well, I was
that.
thinking Wednesday because then that's
Yeah.
not getting him beginning of the week or end of week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
True.
Wednesday's fine, but we still have 3 to do, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure we can do them all on one Wednesday.
We
So
can do 2?
we can do 2.
There we go.
Okay.
Right. I'll try
All right.
to get after I crunch these numbers and get the top 3.
Yeah, just send us an email what the results are.
I will.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we already did the MS1 and 535 under old business. Is there any other old business that needs to be discussed? Okay, new business. Kayode and Melody Mason from North Ashland Road. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to discuss this in non-public if you would like, or we can discuss it in a public session. That's completely up to you.
What would your recommendation?
I would recommend you do what you're most comfortable with. As you know, it's being filmed on PB Cam. If you'd rather discuss that with us in private, we can shut off the cameras and send folks out for a little bit.
Sure, I'm not entirely sure what we're discussing, so.
The reason for non-public is if you're concerned about reputation,
Right.
your reputation, or any other person's reputations other than this board.
I don't care.
You fine with public session?
I'm fine.
Okay. Then, Charlie, I will turn it over to you to,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm going to recuse myself from this matter.
Okay.
I'm a part owner of the property that abuts.
Okay.
This property.
all right, you want to go take a seat in the
Yep.
audience? And thank you, Tasha Simmons.
Okay, well, we invited you folks here tonight to have a discussion with the Board of Selectmen. We received some complaints about cars working on your property. You know, we sent you some letters. The complaints continued. It turned out, it came to our attention that that property that your cars are being worked on are within the state right of way. The state owns that property, not the town. It's our job to enforce upon that property that's there. And long story short, I think the board was hoping that folks could not work on the cars there. I mean, I know I talked to Melody and she says she's very willing. It's just that the letter that apparently was sent to them was not descriptive enough. Clear.
It spoke about,
Well, it was like a general junkyard.
like a junkyard.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't say,
Oh.
please don't work on your cars there. We don't, it's our teenagers.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't drink and they don't do drugs.
Right.
They stay home and work on their car. And unfortunately, the way that our land is, it's all down over the hill.
Yeah.
And there's really no good place for them to do it. So
Right.
that's what,
I made a phone call a while ago to Don Matulip, and I'll try following up about putting a road, you know, in a different spot for us to get, or a pathway for us to get down back. I was using the road that was there, but that road, it's not on my property, it's the property of the condos, and it goes back to my property, but they don't want me to use that.
right, they don't want us to have
access
a
it.
right of way,
So,
Yeah.
well,
which
I
is
mean,
unfortunate.
or not even to have a right of way, but they don't want us to use
Right.
that. They want us to not.
Because the way that the land is shaped,
Yeah.
it comes down on their land and comes here, and our land's here, and so it ends up on our land, but this whole part of it isn't ours.
Right.
So, you
They,
know,
they had a little makeshift garage that they had built that they were using that road to get to, but
so we had them take it down, it was a little shed that they were using to work on their cars in. So we were maintaining that access road, just so they could go into that shed, which is what happened last year when we got the junkyard letter. We were never specifically asked for them not to work on their cars there. We assumed that was what it's about. So we make sure that they're all registered and everything, but yes, they do work on them. They don't like tear engines apart. There's no fluid leaking in the ground, but I understand it's not our land. We know that. but the problem is we can't access our backyard because they won't let us use that road. I don't know, we're gonna try to approach them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna try to approach them to see if they either wanted to sell a right of way or maybe a small chunk of land.
Just
I'm
so
not
they can
sure
get
if that
down
would
there,
work.
to
Yeah.
work on their cars.
Of course. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming to discuss this with us, Mr. and Mrs. Mason. I'm going to ask the board if they have any other comments.
I'd like to applaud any
No.
teenager who's either not drinking or using drugs, so I give
That's
you great credit for raising your
Indeed.
children with admiration
Yeah.
towards
That's
mechanical
true.
items.
Right.
It was good.
That is good.
And we certainly appreciate your cooperation, your willingness to work with us, and your efforts to solve the problem, so.
Yes, and thank you for giving us the chance to come in
Sure.
here. Because like, we knew it was about that, but we figured as long as they kept it neat and tidy, you know, and everything was
Yeah.
registered, that it would be okay. But then you said you keep getting repeated complaints.
Yeah.
So basically you don't want them working on the cars at all there.
Right.
Is that right?
So, I mean, I guess are these complaints that the town's addressing for the condo board, or is this from the town? I mean, it's kind of a
town.
different thing if it's one or the other.
It's not the condo
Yeah,
board.
no. No,
not
it's
from the
complaints that have
condo
come
board.
specifically to the select board. And we obviously have to address any complaint that comes to us, so.
Yes.
Yeah, and the side road issue that you're having, that's not,
That's-
that doesn't involve the
no.
town, that's a civil matter.
No, that's your issue.
So I guess we'll have to find out how to go to one of the meetings at the condo association. I mean, do you know how that's possible?
For the purpose of this conversation, I'm just gonna
Okay, so you're not here for
not
now.
comments right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you.
So if we can figure that out, I mean, we're going to definitely address them just to see if we can, they probably won't, but see if we could purchase it or like.
Yeah.
the
So,
right of
so
way.
the town's asking us, or telling us, not to work on the cars
On
in
the
that
highway.
Yeah,
portion of the land
Yeah.
that's owned by the state.
yeah,
Okay. And so I can have stuff parked there, but it can't be like a part or being worked on. Is that the,
Tony, you want to speak to this?
Well, I think the whole thing is about the parking of vehicles out there. Because people have come to us and there's nothing as far as the police department goes that I can actually do about that. But most of the complaint stuff that's we're getting is that they're working on vehicles out there and they're parking, you're leaving stuff out in that right of way. And if you look at it, you know, all the vegetation is all worn off, so it causes erosion. And I think that's everybody's big concern. The fact of the matter is nobody really has a right to occupy right of way, especially when it was a fee taking, like that one was a fee taking by the state. And as Mr. Smith said, we talked to the state and the state said, no, it's up to you to basically police that. And they said if we needed them to help out with the
Yep.
policing of it, then they
Yep.
would come in to help out, but it was basically up to us to, the town to police it. There's nothing, I'm gonna tell you, criminal about this. It's just about not being able to have your stuff parked in the road right away.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, now there's a big area we're talking about. We're talking about on the side of the road by the mailbox, or we're talking up on the berm.
Up on the berm, you know
Okay,
that
because
berm
we
is.
built the big retaining wall, I don't know if you've
Yep.
seen it,
Yeah.
just so it
Yeah,
wouldn't
and I-
erode.
Right, and
I saw some of that.
Thousands
had,
of dollars, so it won't
I
erode.
had put some, what do you call it there, ledge pack?
Yeah,
So that.
yeah.
it could
And then
be-
put the
Yeah.
big block in.
But if you, just general to find where the right of way is, because.
We know where it is,
Okay, you do? All right. So you've seen the corners,
we're well aware.
all that stuff, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
The corners?
yeah, the property of your
Oh,
property.
yeah, yeah.
You know where the corner of your property are, so.
Oh, we know
Yeah, it's
right
way
where our
back,
property is.
75 feet from the center line.
I know.
75, yeah.
Right,
So, you know, that's the bottom line, is you really can't store stuff out on the road right away.
okay, so
Um,
no parking of vehicles there.
Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you, I'm sure the town's gonna be lenient with, and I can't speak for everybody here, but, you know, reasonable, if you're in your paved driveway, I would think that that would be reasonable. I wonder if there might be an ability for you to, the town could issue another driveway permit for another access point off that road to get down on the other side of your house, maybe?
Right, that's what
I
we
mean,
spoke
is that,
to the tulip about.
is that an option? I mean, you're talking
Well,
about the tulip, so.
That's, well, yeah, it's just too, he happens to be right down the road.
Yeah,
so It's
yeah.
easy to deal with
Yeah.
him, but, you know, I guess, I think, the way that I was thinking about it, we would still be using the same driveway point so that we're not interfering with that
Oh, yeah,
berm.
okay. Oh, yeah.
But we'd be going up
Yeah.
the berm and then it would come off of there.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, nothing would have to be parked there, but we would be utilizing the right of way
Just to drive across it.
access down.
But it is all ledge path now,
Road point.
Oh,
and
yeah.
is
Well,
the big
up to a
retaining wall.
Yeah.
So it doesn't erode, you know, that was the problem, we had to have someone come in and do the drainage and new pavement and
We-
stuff,
Right.
because from the highway, the water rolls
Oh,
down
yeah.
the hill across the driveway, and it was eroding our driveway, it was tearing the tar right up.
Additional paving.
Yeah, we had to have,
A swale.
Brian come
But
in.
that portion of it was on
Is
our
ours.
property.
Yeah.
The, we extended the drain back a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because that, you know, it is, when it rains hard, a lot of rain tries to take.
Yeah, it can't get through that hole
Left-hand
because it's not
turn.
big enough, right?
So now it can, we
Right.
have it, it's perfect, it works
Right.
great.
But I think the whole crutch of the whole thing is, from the people driving by, is that
I-
they don't wanna see it, just doesn't look good, it's, but the fact of the matter is, I don't believe that you have the right to park your stuff out there in the road right away.
Right.
So I think that's what they wanna see cleaned up.
Is so that basically, not only where they're working on it, but where they're parking.
Right,
Okay,
right.
all right.
So basically it'd be behind the berm.
Right.
Because I think that berm is on state property,
It is.
and then the limit of the right of way
Back into my car.
is on the other side of that berm.
I can't, I
So,
can't.
I mean,
Yeah, the state owned the road. They bought it back when they expanded I-93
to relocate.
to relocate North Ashland Road.
Right,
Because the original North
That's
Ashland
right.
Road is under I-93, where it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how the state is involved, and the state owns the road.
Because they did it with their taking, when they did their
Yeah.
commissioner's return on highway.
Yeah.
Ah,
Mhm.
right.
so, I don't know, like, as you probably know, we live in a household of teenagers, and they all have their licenses, except for one, who's going to be getting it in December. So, I mean, is there a way, I mean, I can understand completely cutting out them working on cars up there. Is there a way that we can get like a lenient just parking until we can figure something else out? Because the driveway, you have to pull down and back out. It's just, you know what I mean? So there's nowhere to park, nowhere. There's enough room for 2 cars.
How wide is the driveway right there?
Well, where it bottlenecks between the continued berm and the retaining wall and the other berm, I'd say probably like 12 feet. I mean, I can.
Yeah, so you
I
can't
can
park
cut
2
it.
cars side by side.
Right, I can cut it in 3 swipes with a snow thrower and be
Yeah.
done, so.
So we're kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and the only other thing that I can think of, and I, you know, anybody weigh in if you want, is that you widened your driveway to make it 18 or 20 feet wide, that way you could park a couple cars on the edge of your driveways, and the other cars could get in and out.
That's good.
This is the only other thing I can think of.
Well, the part that I would be widening would be
The
the
state's
part that's
property.
not my property.
Yeah, but I'm
I
gonna
mean,
tell you, see, like your driveway right now, that's yours to use to get back and forth to your house. And I'm gonna tell you that I'm not sure that a bunch of people are complaining because you parked a couple cars in your driveway. But when it's scattered out about the way that it is with the travel trailers and I don't know what they call it.
Monster truck?
Camper trailer. No, monster truck.
That's a one-of-a-kind vehicle.
So, and I think that's the crutch of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think if it was a little more organized, parked in your driveway, it might be okay, but.
Right, because we like, you know, we got like a letter last year. We made sure they cleaned it up and took care of the parks. Then they were just parking diagonally. We never heard anything for a while. Then they started working on the cars again.
Yeah.
You know, so, because that's my son Lucas. He's 19 and he is a born mechanic.
No, we've been out there doing VIN checks so they can register. them.
How many times?
No, we throw a lot of registration money this way.
I mean, that's the way I understand it. I don't know. I mean,
Now you stated that that's a state-owned road, correct?
Yep.
Now, I own
well,
property that's,
the right of way is state owned.
yeah,
But it's a class
Class
5
five.
road, which is under the auspice of the town to maintain and take care
Right.
of.
Right.
So they relocated our class 5 town road back when they put I-93 through. And when they took for I-93, they took area to do that. which is still lies with the state ownership.
The state owns
Commissioners
from
of
500
Record.
feet, correct, from the highway?
What's that?
They own from 500 feet from the highway?
I don't know what it is. It varies. The I-93 corridor doesn't parallel and mirror the road because they have certain places where they went out because it was steeper, so they grabbed more land to maintain drainage and slopes and all that other stuff.
The only reason why I ask is I know that with a state road, you're allowed a wider apron and a wider driveway. So that's
Well,
why I
I mean,
asked.
here's the bottom line. I don't know what the driveway permit says in Ashland, but it has limitations to your driveway, right?
It does, it has some, like, can't remember off the top of my head what it needs to be, but there's
And
a
then-
certain width, and if they were to fill out a driveway permit, they'd have to put a 12-inch drain minimum in, and it would have to be a certain width.
So I know you're allowed 3 feet on either side for an apron, is what they call it, where you flare out. For instance, I have an 18-foot wide driveway
Yeah.
with a 3-foot apron on each side, so I have 24 feet width.
The new permits are 5-foot apron.
So that's even greater.
It's even greater with a, you know,
Flare.
a flare.
I mean, I'm hearing where they're coming from, and I can appreciate that they have children that are mechanically inclined. I have one as well. I would look at it this way. If you can go wider with the driveway, you kind of have to weigh, is it easier to do that? Or perhaps try to buy the right of way, or could you apply for, say, a hardship easement to get to that bottom part of the property? Whereas there's a road that gets there, but it's not being granted permission to pass through. So that would be my only...
Yeah, because, but in order, like they said, in order for them to get to their property, they have to pass through the condo property.
Correct.
Okay? Where the road, where the little woods road is in the road right away, you know, maybe the town could issue some type of driveway permit to cover that with a certain width and everything.
Yep.
Okay? But now you're getting into landowner stuff.
Yeah,
And
and that's
if the
civil, I
condo
understand.
people wish not to do that, you know, the only problem with doing stuff like that, granting an easement or doing a boundary line adjustment, there was a certain amount of area that was used for that condo when it was submitted for condominiums. Somebody would have to
Yeah.
survey that and figure out
Resurvey it.
whether they have enough so that they can do something like that. I don't know if they have maxed out on their lot sizing or whatever, and of course, the rules have all changed now because you got the shoreline protection stuff to deal with. Sometimes it's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will get permissive uses. They can get a letter in writing that says, you know, we're gonna give you permission to get down through there, and here's the guidelines. And if you mess up on that, we're gonna revoke your permission, okay? Permissive uses can be revoked at any point in time the person giving permission wants to revoke them. It doesn't ripen into any prescriptive right or anything like that. A lot of times people will use that because when they sell or do something, it won't run with the next person that's coming with the property. You grant an actual easement, that easement's gonna run with their property.
Good.
For whoever decides to move there and do whatever.
Well, the reason why I mention this is actually for the other side of the property. If they put so much money and time into building this retaining wall, and they had mentioned about going across, I didn't know if the state has a habit of granting easements for that, if they're going to extend the driveway, if that would be us as a board, or would it be the state
Well,
granting?
I think the premise from the state, Charlie, and correct me if you think it's something different, it's up to us to control that right away.
Okay.
Okay, that's what they put back on the town.
Right.
You control it and police it. We
Right.
own it, but you're gonna control it and police it.
Yeah.
I can only speak for
So-
1 of 5, but in my mind, I would rather see them utilize that area to get to a place that we're not all looking at those vehicles.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I
that's
agree.
my mind, and I would rather see someone being fruitful with their time and being mechanically inclined instead of just saying no.
And that's why I said, is there another place that they can locate a different driveway to get down back to where they can do, you know, do their mechanic stuff and
Yeah.
do what it is they love to do.
Yeah.
Not do drugs and cause trouble.
Exactly.
You know, occasionally when they do get their
I was
cars.
gonna say, you might hear some noise here and
It's
there.
not us. That's not
Might
fun.
be a loud engine.
Just the
here.
test drive, that's what it is, it's the test
We
drive.
got a quarter mile, right?
Well, it sounds like you have a number of options to pursue, and I would say you keep in touch with us, and if we get additional complaints, we'll say we're working the problem, and, you know, hopefully you'll get this, a resolution that's satisfactory to all. So, at this point, I just think keep in touch with us and good luck.
Well, thank you very much.
And again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome to stay. We have a little bit more meeting to go, but not much.
Okay, well, he just got out of work, he probably likes some dinner.
Okay, understood. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. Okay, also under new business, Primex Unemployment Compensation Program. Charlie, you want
Yes,
to
I
talk to us
talked
about
about
that?
this at one of our budget meetings, about looking into getting us unemployment insurance. Presently, we just budget for that. We went over that line this year by so far $1,100. We budgeted $1,000 for unemployment claims. We're at $2,134 spent, and we still have another 3 months.
Okay,
This is basically an extension of insurance with Primex to cover unemployment claims.
okay,
One of the comments that I made to Primex was, if I have $10,000 in unemployment claims next year, does that $2,200 cover it? They told me yes.
okay,
Yeah, one of the things that they also said that many towns often forget is unemployment coverage for volunteer firefighters. If a firefighter has a job at another town, gets let go, what we pay for wages goes towards that.
okay,
Another thing that Primex said is they also provide legal counsel representation if there's ever a claim that we might object. They handle it with the state.
okay.
And this also comes with training seminars and stuff.
So the total is 2,252 if we go with the Primex.
Yes.
Unemployment.
Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I think it's admirable, the attempt to save money. My concern is that since it's in a contracted form, it's going to be added to the budget. If it goes to the default budget, will be part of the default budget. I'd rather see it be put in or proposed in the new upcoming budget, and then if it's passed, then reapproach Primex and see if they're interested in the contract. I imagine they would be, because it would lock in a payment, but I would be reluctant to support a contract at this point, knowing that it could just be added to the default budget.
well, yes, it would be added to the default budget if it were a contract, but I think the question is, do we want this contract? It's kind of a risk, a gamble, if you don't make it a contract and think that, they're just gonna honor it.
Right.
If we've already gone over our budget, it strikes me as prudent that we have something in writing that we know what we can depend upon for claims that could be much larger than our
Yeah.
budget. And I understand your reluctance at putting contracts in the default budget, but it sort of has to be in order to lock in this rate and to ensure that we have adequate coverage in the future. Other comments?
Do we already have any long-standing contracts with Primex that go into the budget or the default every year?
Yes.
Okay, and then
Workers' compensation, property and liability. We budget for the CAP program. That's 7 to 8% for each one. I can't think off the top of my head which one's the 7 or 8, but it's in your budget papers. That's just in case.
is this an additional contract, or is this going to be
This is an
unbundled
additional-
with the other?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the 7 to 8% that we budget might be enough to cover it. That's just an emergency. Yeah.
I'm just thinking back, and we have claims now in-house that are exuberant, but looking back, I don't see a ways back. I looked 3 years back, and we haven't had that many long-term unemployment claims. That's why I asked if it would be an additional contract or just something bundled in with
Yeah.
the contract we already
Yeah,
have.
yeah, it's insurance.
Yeah, in the past,
No,
we've
it's
always
insurance.
self-funded unemployment.
Yeah, we have.
And we've been lucky.
Yeah, we've been lucky, and I don't think we budgeted enough this year.
No.
And furthermore, wages have gone up. Everyone's
And we can
wages have gone
budget
up.
again this year, we could even budget this amount, but if the default comes in, then we don't have enough budgeted,
don't,
and that's
yeah.
the risk.
Yeah.
So it might be worth considering. Lee, Casey, comments?
I think like you said, it's risk reward or whatever. Either you don't budget it and then you come under again, or you just have this as like a safety net. Say we have a lot of claims, it'd be better to have this. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
without a
Look at-
crystal ball.
Need something in
you
writing.
Can't predict the future.
Yeah, I think it's safer
Yeah,
to go with
I mean,
this.
I know it's $1,000 more than we've ever budgeted, or 1,500, but it seems like a relatively small amount to ensure our budget going
unemployment
forward.
compensation, you know?
Right.
If any employees are let go, resigned, or out of our control,
Yeah.
you know, we have to pay it. And right
Right.
now, we pay it out of pocket.
Right.
So have you run an analysis of your increased costs if we continue to run the same track that we are now with the increased $2.25 an hour for all union salaries?
No.
No.
But I can tell you this, that what we've been paying for unemployment now, we've gone over, and that doesn't include the raises.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I
all
asked,
that,
'cause,
right, Wendy pays it. That's pre-institution of the raises.
Right. And this is something we have no choice in. We have to pay it
You have to pay it. Yeah.
when it's
State.
claimed. So.
State, yeah.
So I will entertain a motion to approve this contract with Primex for unemployment insurance for $2,252.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay,
Harold? Nay, okay.
okay.
Nay, he's a nay.
Select board items. I don't have anything on the list. Do I have, yes?
I was just wondering, has the water and sewer liaison, has Mr. Barney, have you been able to attend any of the meetings? And specifically, the reason I'm asking is I'm interested in knowing if they have submitted a quarterly report as,
Nope, but I'm going tomorrow.
okay, and no to the quarterly report as well? Okay.
Speaking of the water and sewer, I think the whole board has been invited. As you know, there's a public hearing for their new proposed building at the wastewater treatment plant, their receiving station. And they've invited
Very good.
the Board of Selectmen to come in and tour the location at 5 o'clock on Wednesday. The public hearing
That's
is at
right.
6:30. And there'll be somebody down there marking off where everything's gonna go. If you'd like a first-hand
Yeah.
view, just,
The planning board is recommending the selectmen
Yeah.
go, because it's eventually gonna end up
right,
with us anyway.
Exactly.
So it's not gonna be, you know, real long.
no.
We're gonna
It's
meet
at
down,
five
meet down at
o'clock.
the lagoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright.
Want us to take pictures? I'm sure you can
Thank
get a
you for
private tour,
remembering.
Casey. Any other select board items? Yes, same
5 a.m.
time?
Yeah.
5.
At
5
5.
o'clock.
This Wednesday, 5.
Yeah.
And the hearing's following at
The
6:30.
hearing's at 6:30 here.
Here. Yeah, I have 3 reports,
Okay.
actually. Pemmy River Local Advisory Committee, otherwise known as PERLAC, on October 3rd, between 8 and 10, I don't know if people know the SEC, the Northern Pass SEC, SEC site visit is scheduled for here at 10 o'clock at the well field, but in Plymouth, folks are meeting on the common between 8 and 10:45, waiting for them to show up, because I don't know if everybody knows, but they're planning on going through Main Street in Plymouth. So it's kind of proactive, waiting for them to get there. We're not sure when they're gonna get here. I don't know if you've had any other word besides 10 o'clock,
I
but,
have actually, I was gonna add to that, I had an email come to me through the Conservation Commission and also through the SEC website that they are gonna be in Ashland between 9:30 and 10:30, tentatively 9:45 they'll be doing Collins Street.
at 9:45.
Yeah, I didn't have any mention of the well field. My understanding is the access point that they were going to be looking at was Collins Street, because any machinery that would have to come in would have to pass over that road.
Okay,
That was my understanding, is they're going to be looking at the Collins Street crossover with the bridges, the right-of-way, and also the crossing of over the Squam River into New Hampton.
okay, we heard the well field, but.
Yeah, I've heard the Wellfield too, but.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You
The new, we did discuss the new expansion of the receiving station in Ashland because of its proximity to the river. And we decided to start implementing a matrix of Pemmy River Corridor Management Plan in lieu of whatever's gonna happen with the Northern Pass. We're gonna move ahead and start working on other things because our time has been consumed for the last few years with Northern Pass information. And we're gonna be starting on water quality, the water quality section of our matrix, specifically monitoring water and getting more volunteers to go to more sites on the river to test for E. coli and salt. And we meet next month. Mardine and I are on a subcommittee, well, it will be a subcommittee as of next week. We had an initial meeting with two members of the two water commissioners, Eli and David Toth.
Yeah, Eli's.
One water
yeah.
commissioner, David Toth, and Mike Azard from Lakes Region Planning Commission, because I don't know if everybody knows it, but we have a grant that we got from New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and it's to work with the Ashland and Meredith Planning Boards through the Lakes Region Planning Commission to recommend groundwater or surface water protection ordinance or regulations to better protect sensitive water resources that serve as sources of drinking water in these communities. So we're lucky, I think, is it 15,000, Martine, or 10? Do you know how much?
The grant
The grant?
that LRPC got from DES, I believe, was $15,000.
Okay, that's for the two towns.
Yeah, the money is in LRPC's
Right.
control, right.
So our goal for the planning board would be to, they're going to help us write up possible regulations that we could be, hopefully have on the warrant in March, zoning regulations that would protect our well field and the aquifer from, basically from development. And that's what our aim is. And we also identified another aquifer, this town's second aquifer, for people who don't know, is on Owlbrook Road. And we're not quite sure whose property it's on yet, but we are researching that, because that will be our second phase after we get the first phase done with our first aquifer. We're going to look into how to go about protecting our second aquifer in case we ever need to access that. What was my other one? Planning board. We had the 5 o'clock Wednesday, there'll be a site walk for the new recycling station. Remind Fran for the building permit list for the planning board.
Right, thank you. Planning board has requested a list of all of the permits that our building inspector has issued, and we have yet to get that, so this is a reminder for you, Charlie. It was a reminder for me to remind you to tell our building inspector to please see if we can get that list as soon as possible.
We'd like to have a list that we can work on every month. We continued a case for White Mountain Brewing Company to expand seating to 20 people and to serve appetizers. That's at 50 Winter Street. And we had a presentation by Amesbrook Campground owner on donating a sewer line they own to the town, which covers over to Brunt Avenue and Carr Avenue. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And our next meeting is October the 4th.
Thank you, Lee. Anything else? Yes.
I went to the electric commission meeting last Tuesday. The only thing of note that I think is good to report here is that they are working on that issue with the water runoff and affecting our salt storage.
Right.
If there's something else any other concerns that any of you have that you'd like to ask me about, I may have some information, but I asked them if there was anything that they'd like me to bring to the Board of Selectmen, and they said not at this point, so.
Did you get any estimate as to when they're going to be tackling that program?
It sounds like they are currently tackling it, but it's a matter of waiting to hear back from individuals that are part of that.
Jamie, you had your hand up?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, what's happening next Thursday?
Somebody will be coming in to start that.
Oh, okay, all
We'll
right.
be in contact.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Selectman, will that entail also the vegetative swale that the board asked for them to build last November that was in their spec plans for building the building?
So thank you for raising that. So I remember you mentioning the vegetative swale, and I brought it up at the meeting, and I think that there was a lack of clarity around the vegetative swale as separate from the issue with the water flowing. The reason I say that is because at the meeting when I mentioned that, it was spoken about as if they were the same thing. So perhaps I think that there must have been some misunderstanding. So I don't have any information to provide you at this time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because my understanding was that the vegetative swale is supposed to lie where the softball-sized rocks are in the trench right now.
It was just a mechanism for absorbing more water.
Right, the rocks are supposed to be there.
And eliminating the runoff, but we'll be anxious to hear your exact plans for how you're gonna handle that runoff, because I mean, that's the main concern.
I guess the vegetative swale, I'm new down there.
Yeah. Okay,
We're addressing the side towards your salt shed, is that the same side with the vegetative swale?
It is, it is,
Okay, so not the uphill side, you're talking?
Nope.
yeah.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that the runoff from that building, the roof and the impervious surfaces don't end up where they don't belong. And I think the idea of the vegetative swale was that it provides a natural area for water to be absorbed. So any kind of drainage would have to ensure that that water doesn't end up somewhere else that's going to cause problems.
Well, all of that stone's gonna be taken out.
Okay,
They're gonna put in asphalt reclaim,
okay,
so it can be plowed in the winter.
okay,
And then all of that water will run down towards 132 into a catch basin and drop into a current drainage pipe that the highway department has on their property.
Drainage into the Squam River?
No.
I'm sorry.
Eventually, what we're gonna do is put a catch basin at the end, so it will be at the driveway of the Public Works Department. So right at the end of that building, there's gonna be a catch basin. We're gonna put pipe across the road to catch that water, and it's gonna go to existing pipe that we already have to catch water from the driveway. It gets piped down both behind the shed that we have, where the sanders are, and it continues down over into the river. It disperses over that whole
Yeah, okay.
field.
The only-
Behind the transfer station, the substation.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is I remember when we looked at the plans prior to the building being built, that the concern was, the soil that was underneath the building. And then how they can legally, because we're in a municipality and we're exempt, the soil can stay on that property, but the concern was when they drew the plans that the vegetative swale would slow down the water so that it would absorb on that property instead of ending up in the Squam River, because we've all seen the list as long as my arm of everything that's in that soil. And I, as a conservation commissioner, first and foremost, before a selectman, are concerned about those PCBs and all of those things ending up in our river.
Yeah, what happened last year, if you guys remember,
Yeah,
that
I do.
froze.
Yeah.
So you get constant melting and freezing. So the ice was 12 inches thick. And then when we had a late storm, we got more melting, and that's what caused the river to come in over that. So that's always gonna happen. You're never gonna get away from it. It's always gonna freeze there because it's slowly dripping off the eaves of that building and then freezing. So it's too late to make any adjustments now, so we have to deal with the water running.
As I remember when we did the engineering plans, that was actually one of the Achilles tendon to actually pass that, as far as that drainage swale, is that they had it stamped from an engineer that water would be absorbed right there on site with a vegetative swale. That's why I asked why we're accelerating it with a paved runway.
Yeah, my personal opinion is that's not gonna absorb enough water, and it's gonna still go into our property, but it's up to you guys to work with the commission. I don't know. You can get another opinion if you want, but.
so who is coming on Thursday, Jamie? Somebody to pave it specifically?
Somebody's taking
Take the rocks out.
To take the rocks
stone
out, okay.
And add it in the reclaim so we can remove the snow so it doesn't run into the salt shed.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask
please.
him a question? Who gave you the authority to go ahead and do this, first of all? Second of all, before you go ahead and do it, can the commissioners come back to this board of selectmen with something? Because I was immediately about ready to ask our DPW director how he felt with it. He is clearly not comfortable with the plan that you guys plan on doing. And I don't think Selectman Lamos is comfortable with that at all. So before you remove any stone, I would recommend that the elected commissioners are more than invited to come to this board and provide them information before they say, go ahead and, move any stone. Because
Good idea.
this is the first time we've heard of
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
And there's clearly concerns here and there's concerns over there.
We've
So,
been meeting with Craig.
Well,
Craig's been at meetings and.
The only concern I have, Charlie, is that if we leave it like it is, it's gonna keep freezing. If it's dirt, it's gonna keep freezing. So the idea with the reclaim is that if you guys have ever seen reclaim, it's very porous and it'll absorb into the soil. It's like you pour water on reclaim, it's just gonna soak right into the soil. It's gonna do the same thing as the vegetative swale, except for it's not gonna turn to mud. It's just gonna soak through and it won't wash away. So that was the idea of the reclaimed pavement. is to let it soak through but it still stays packed hard. And then we're gonna get some absorption, but what we can't absorb in the soil, it's gonna drain to drain a catch basin.
So it's gonna stay away from the salt shed?
It should, I can't guarantee it, but it's gonna be better than what it is today.
Madam Chair?
I feel,
Yes.
my personal feeling is. But if you got engineering.
It was designed
blueprints-
already. It was designed. It was stamped. That's what we
Yeah,
agreed
so
upon.
I haven't seen them. I'm sure Jamie hasn't seen them.
Right.
I'm sure the board that's down there right today hasn't seen them.
Right.
So we're kind of in the dark.
Well, we are too, because this
So-
was an agreement we made with the
Yes.
commissioners last year when we approved the building, that there needed to be this,
Yeah.
and that was not done. It was supposed to be hay bales put up in the
Right.
interim, and that was not done. So you can understand why we're kind of taken aback, not really understanding. You may be exactly right, but we have no
I'm
knowledge
not
of
sure
how,
either.
if and how this is going to work. Yes, Tasia Sinha.
May I ask Mr. Moore a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Moore, I was wondering, did you have an opportunity when you met with the commissioners to express your concerns that it may not completely divert the water? That may not completely address the issue?
I did, but they're very adamant at that meeting that if it didn't work, they would commit more resources to make it work. They want to fix it,
Okay.
but I think it's a new board up there, so they weren't sure what needed to be done. So I'm
There's
sure
one
the-
standing member.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the plan, I didn't know there was a plan already in place from an engineer, so.
That was what we agreed upon
Yep.
for them to build the building. I mean, just long of the short, I'm sure that the electric commissioners have a copy that you can get, but basically the vegetative swale was gonna slow down the water.
Yeah.
And when you got to where your driveway is to enter your area, there was going to be any other term, a dry well type of situation where the water would absorb straight down and stay on the municipal owned land.
Yeah.
Instead of going off grid and down towards the river because of the things that are in the soil. The DES allowed them to bury some soil that was going to stay on site, and part of us agreeing to that was the fact that the water was going to stay on site and the impervious surface was not going to push it towards the river.
Yeah, and just, I think if you guys saw the river of water last spring coming out.
I did.
Oh, I did. I stopped down there every day.
There was, I mean, it was a tremendous amount of water, and I
Yeah.
don't think any vegetative swale is gonna absorb that. When you got such a big area on top of that building,
There's only 8.5 feet between the roof line and the back of your salt shed. I mean.
there's no way that, how's that gonna absorb it? So the idea we had was to divert it and let it absorb later on down. Whether that's right or not, I don't know.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Considering it sounds like they're going to take action on it on Thursday, if the members of the board here have a different action plan or, something that we want to do to perhaps come up with a more optimal solution and outcome, I think, I'd like to hear recommendations around that.
Well, to what Charlie said, he invited the commissioners to come and talk to us. Again, we're operating from the assumption that they were going to do something else, and this is all new to us. And I personally, whether it's vegetative or this reclaim that will absorb water, I don't know anything about it. And I'd like some reassurance from, I'm sure they've collected information, and I do understand they're committed to spend the money on this, and I appreciate that. But we just need some assurance that this is going to address the concerns that Harold raised, that's all.
I would just ask that they review Mr. Brown's engineering plans that he drew up in 2016 and put his stamp on. That pretty much appeased all of our concerns. I believe it was September 2016 that it was brought to the board.
Right.
We had a
And-
unilateral meeting between the commissioners and ourselves, and that's when we
Right.
agreed upon this.
And this may in fact serve the same purpose, but we have no way of
Yeah, we don't.
evaluating
We don't.
that.
We're none of us are engineers,
No,
neither are they.
well,
should.
somebody is, but I don't know if he has the right expertise.
They were gonna have to postpone the Thursday action.
Yeah, yes, Tasia Sin.
Yeah, I have a concern about what Mr. Lamos has raised. I also have a concern about the lack of certainty of protecting the salt, because that could be thousands of dollars. And I don't believe that the construction that would be necessary to divert the water can be done in the winter. It's better to
It
do it
needs-
now.
yeah.
So, I'm hearing that there was a proposed action plan to resolve this previously that was agreed
There was.
Last
upon.
November.
Maybe what we could do is reaffirm that and send that to the electric commission and request that they act in accordance with that, if that's a previous agreement between the two bodies.
Well, again, I would be satisfied with a change if we had some assurance that it was going to do what the vegetative swale was proposed to do. But we have no way of knowing that. So, if this is gonna work better, we certainly don't wanna stop them from doing that. But
Right.
again, we have no way of evaluating that, so I'm a little bit nervous about just doing some construction and removing rocks.
My concern is not so much the water, it's what could ultimately end up in it.
Yeah.
That's my concern. We
Right.
own that. The municipality, the Board
Right.
of Select own that when they
Right.
allowed the electric commission to build a building there. But we're responsible for anything that leaves that property.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
My concern here is that they're gonna take action on Thursday unless they hear from us some type of
Right.
definitive input
Yep.
about what we want and
Yep.
a different direction to take, so, I don't know exactly what the best course of action here is to propose, but I do propose that we take some action if we want to have some input on what the outcome is, because otherwise, I believe that in lieu of us giving some input, they're gonna continue
Do
with
it
their course of
anyway.
action.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So, could we arrange a meeting, ask them to stop work on this until we could get together and discuss this and get some kind of assurances? Did you take that back to the commission?
He wasn't starting till next Thursday.
Well, but removing the,
We
you said
have
this
time.
Thursday to remove the rocks. And, which maybe has to be done even with a vegetative swale, because you remove rocks, you've got to put in soil, plant, so,
Can we put, Madam Chair, would you care to put that to a motion so that we can have a vote?
right, I'm just trying to find out from Jamie where we are in terms of timing.
I'll contact the contractor and have them not do anything.
Okay, then in that case, I will entertain a motion to ask the electric department to cease work until we have a resolution to, our concerns.
I'll make said motion.
Just,
I'll
Second?
second that.
just so you know. We're getting into frost season. Once
We
the
understand
frost
that,
hits,
Jamie. We understand, we don't want to delay this because it's not going to do you any good, it's not going to do us or the town any good. So, the sooner we can resolve this, the happier we'll all be.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I add something for discussion?
Sure.
The one thing I do want to add is just a recognition that they are, an autonomous body, and we're really looking to work with them.
Of course.
To come with
Absolutely.
a conclusion here that's mutually beneficial and meets all of our interests.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. Like I said, we want this to be a win-win, and I have heard that the electric department is committed to investing resources into solving the problem, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that we're not going into this blindly. So, again, thank you for that.
So are you gonna follow back up with the board, or is our liaison going to follow back up with the electric commissioners to get your concerns answered here?
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Can we have a vote on the motion and then figure out how it's going to be carried out?
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now the logistics of it, yes, Charlie, we do. Tejas, when is your next meeting? It's probably not for next week, till next week, right?
They have a budget meeting on Wednesday.
Okay,
I mean, it is
It'll be
a,
the 10th. is the next meeting.
yeah, we probably want it discussed before then.
I could, here's an idea, I could reach out to the chairperson and ask if I could briefly bring this up at Wednesday's meeting and see if maybe they want to initiate some conversation about this.
Right, is it, the whole commission gonna be there on Wednesday?
My
There's
understanding,
two of us there, but it's only posted as a budget work session, so
Right.
I don't have time to repost it for Wednesday.
Right. Well,
It's
yeah, you do, it's 24 hours, you have
24
you have
hours.
time. Yeah, if you could ask the other commissioner to make sure that the three of you are there and post it as a meeting, and that Teja Singh can talk to them briefly and just, explain our concerns, that would be fantastic.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think, I kind of agree with you, but I think that the best course of action would be for myself or the town administrator or yourself to, probably myself as the liaison, to contact the chairperson of that commission and request that they, add that to their agenda, or that they
Yeah.
consider having us, not to necessarily, kind
Yeah.
of just assume that
Yeah,
they will.
no, that's fine, and as the liaison, I think that would be appropriate for you to do, Teja Singh.
Okay.
Okay.
And please express to them, my concern is not with what they're doing above the surface, it's subsurface and what we own in the dirt. That's our liability, I'm a liability.
And again, we're not trying to stop anything
No,
or
not
stall
at all.
anything. I mean, we just, like I said,
Want the
need
best.
assurance that we're doing what's right for the town property and the town.
And
Right.
I would invite the other members of the board to send any specific concerns or information or documents or anything like that to Mr. Smith, and he can forward it to me so that I
Yeah.
make sure that when I go to the meetings, I can cite specific, concerns or examples of concerns and even propose solutions.
Yeah. What time is that meeting? 6:30?
I'm, okay. Usually meet at 6:30.
Can you see if you could meet a little earlier? We do have a public hearing that night that's also of interest to the select board, so, it would be nice to have you attend that as well. But
Yeah, I agree.
it will certainly be videotaped and you can certainly see, but you won't have an opportunity to ask questions, so.
Right.
See if you can work around that.
Right.
Not enough days in the week.
I'll do my best.
All right, I
to-
appreciate
yeah.
that.
The earliest we can do is 6:30, so.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll do what we can do. Any other select board items? Are there any public comments? No. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public according to RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, small letter A, which is employment.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second said motion.